Hello, I'm AwesomeJohn22, or rather that's what I call myself on YouTube. I promised months and months ago that I would start making reviews of Transformers and other figures, including Marvel Universe figures, and one thing led to another and then another, and I never was able to. So I figured now that I can, I'd better start. This is going to act as a camera test since I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. So I figured I'd start with something small, and then if it turned out I could keep it, but if it didn't, I could just do it again. Small, literally, obviously, since these are Cyberverse Legion figures. And now I'm gonna be straight up honest with people. I was never a big fan of the Legends class figures, back when they were still called Legends class figures. Mostly because everyone was the same size. I'm a bit more of a stickler for scale than most Transformers fans have any business being. It doesn't bother me too much, especially with like the jets and stuff, but with the Autobots where they're all based on cars and it's not that hard to tell how big one should be next to the other, it always bothered me that they didn't even really try. But I always wanted a collection of Transformers to sit on my desk, so the Legends figures were becoming more and more appealing to me, and then finally they came out with larger Legends figures, or rather Cyberverse Commander figures. Particularly Ironhide, who I always thought would be great in that scale, had he been larger. And then afterwards they came out with Deluxe Class Movie Optimus Prime, and I figured, what the heck, I'll give it a try. If I don't like them, I can always stop buying them. I thought, considering that was the new beginning for me, that would be a good place to start. So here are the first 3 Cyberverse Legions figures I ever got. And I know there are some people saying, well, why would you get the twins? The twins are terrible. We'll get to that. Alright, let's get started here. We'll start with Bumblebee. You can see, decent figure. And that's the sound of a door opening, pay that no mind. He's a decent figure. He looks good. He's well proportioned. His chest doesn't move up and down, obviously, because he's at such a small scale. But overall, he looks nice. He's got, see, there's a nice sheen on his paint there. Let me go quick through these. Normally my reviews will be more comprehensive than this, but I want to get this done. Nice sheen on his paint there, on the black paint, you can see. Matches the sheen of the yellow plastic quite nicely. He's got all the right details. I mean, his chest is in the right place. He's got the right details on his hips there. He's got the door wings. The door wings are important. Let's see if I can get close enough to it. You can see he does have all the correct detail on his head, and that's a nice Bumblebee head. Autobot symbol, where it should be. Right there, full display. Transformation's really easy. Fold up the feet, plug the legs together to make the rear portion of the car, which you can see fits right here on the back. See, very nicely. Fold this all up, kind of snaps into place. Rotate the arms. Snap them into place on the sides, and they become the whole side of the car. Overall, this is actually, transformation is actually very reminiscent of his Generation 1 design, with the position of the head and the legs reversed, which is kind of cool in a nice retro throwback kind of way. Of course, that's really how most Autobots transform, I guess. You can see the car is just as nice as the robot, maybe even a little nicer, since there aren't as many liberties taken with this mode as there are with the other. The windows are painted nicely, all uniform color. Autobot symbol's still there, since that does make his chest. It rolls very nicely. And already we can see I need to get another light for over here. Oops. And there already we see a problem that I have with one of these other figures here. He doesn't stand well, but again, we'll get to that later. that's Bumblebee. He's definitely my favorite of these smaller figures, especially out of these three that I got first. So let's move on to my next favorite, and I know this is going to come as a surprise to a lot of people, but my next favorite is Mudflap. See, he's nice. He's got big feet, like his character model had, but nowhere near as big as the deluxe class Skids from the current line, and nowhere near as big as, well, nope, nowhere near as big as they are proportionately on his deluxe figure either, just checked. They're more appropriate. His legs are long, though, much longer than they should be, and that makes him a very tall figure. He's actually one of the tallest Legions class figures I have. But overall, he's a nice design. He has his door windows here, acting as the neck protrusions that he has in the movies, and then he's got his doors here acting as door wings, or possibly vice versa. I'm not really sure. But overall, he looks pretty good. He's even got an actual fist sculpted here, where if you look over at Skids there, he does not even in the slightest. As I'm sure you can guess, Mudflap's transformation is also very simple. You plug his feet together and you can see that makes the whole back of the car. But what I like about it is this bit here keeps the silver painted pieces from actually touching the ground when you set him down. Keeps him from chipping. So really you're only just setting it here and here, which is nice. It keeps the paint nice and scratch free. The head flips up here, fills in the top of the car. Then you fold these in, and you fold his arms up. And they just kind of fit there together, make the top of the vehicle. It's usually not this hard getting them together. And the annoying thing about these is they've just got to kind of rest there now until you get everything put together. They don't really stay until you do. You'll see once you get this back piece up, everything holds together pretty well. There are a couple things that are annoying about it, but for the most part, once everything's clipped into place, you've got yourself a pretty nice little car. And you'll see he also rolls pretty well. His paint's nice, though I want to warn people right off the bat. I had to find like 5 of these and compare them just to find one that had an acceptable paint job on the chest. And you'll notice I put some paint there and there on the feet myself to give him more of a breakup in that black. I'm thinking about finding myself an airbrush and putting some color on the windows or something too, but I'm not very good at that, so I'm going to try to refrain from it until I have more experience. Let's see, there you go. And if you look at him next to Bumblebee, they're actually pretty good in scale with each other. Mudflap's taller, but he's not nearly as long. So if scale bothers people, that's a plus. Overall, Mudflap's average. He's not the greatest figure of all time, but he's definitely not the worst. In fact, if you want to take a look at some of the worst figures of all time, just check on YouTube. Plenty of people have posted about him. There's actually a list, and people follow it. Especially the Plastic Addict. He's pretty good at that kind of stuff. Well, more than pretty good. He's really good at that kind of stuff. So let's move on to the last one. Get this done. Posted, whatever. I want to note right off, I put paint details on the same places on this figure that I did on Mudflap, because again, he was a little sparsely painted, and that's more background noise if you can hear it. Again, ignore that. That won't be here all the time. One thing I haven't gone into yet on these is the articulation. Figured I'd save that for last, since the articulation on them is all relatively the same. They all have some form of articulation in their arms. They all have some form of articulation in their legs, and that is it. It is the very rare Legions figure that has more than that. Skids. Let's move on to Skids himself. Okay. Skids. I don't like this figure at all. It looks pretty good, but you'll see here it's very hollow. Mudflap has a piece right here that fills that in. Just a little bit, but it fills it in. You'll see he has no actual hand here. He has this like rod that kind of looks like a thumb, but overall this is not a hand. This is the back of the car making some kind of scoop weapon or something. He does have his small hand, but that doesn't really make up for it. The legs are all one piece, and there's just this painted detail to suggest that it's a leg there. This is not one of the little Hot Wheels guys with the robot on the bottom. Whatever those are called. Yeah, it's not one of those. You don't just paint the robot on the bottom of the car and call it a day. And that's what they did with these legs. At least Mudflap had distinguishable upper legs. This guy looks like he just has shins going up all the way to his hips. This piece here, this midsection piece, doesn't fold forward any more than this, so to stand him, and it's going to be hard to see. Let me put it this way. This is how he looks from the front. You'll see his head is partially recessed into his chest. That is unacceptable to me. And it's all because this midsection doesn't fold any more than that. Doesn't fold out any more than that. Transformation is about the same as Mudflap, except that you'll see there is much more car in his arms than there was on Mudflap. By far. Almost too much. In fact, it would have really helped his stability if they had given him the exact same foot design as Mudflap. I don't know why they didn't, except to distinguish them from each other further. Yeah, again, very simple. Anyone who's ever played with a smaller scale transformer, whoops, as I was saying, anyone who's played with a smaller scale transformer like this will know this transformation. It's pretty much universal. Pegs in place. And this arm can be a real pain because it likes to pop out of there every time you do anything. There we go. And another problem, if you can see that, I don't know if you can, because this can still move. This piece that had the head on it. It can still move in vehicle mode. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense why they would do that. It's a simple engineering fix to put these bits of plastic closer together, hold that in place better. I don't understand why they would do that, why they would let that remain. It's like they just didn't care about this figure. And that just makes me not care about the figure. See, pretty much the same junk underneath as Mudflap, except that his doors are part of the leg rather than part of the arm or upper body, which is fine on a deluxe, but on this one where they don't all fold up neatly, it just doesn't work. But he does roll nicely, and he looks fine next to his brother. But as you can see here as well, these two are not the same vehicle. They're actually closer to their Revenge of the Fallen vehicle designs. They're more similar than the Revenge of the Fallen vehicle designs were, but they are not the same vehicle, and they were supposed to be the same vehicle. We've all seen the movie production shots with the same vehicle painted two different ways. We've all seen the deluxe class figures, looked at the back of the card and seen the two vehicles painted differently, but otherwise identical. It's odd. I find it odd that they would do this. They would make a choice to do this. It doesn't bother me so much because it distinguishes them from each other. They're not just straight up repaints like they could have been. They could have just created some kind of mirror image repaint and called them different characters, you know? Given, like, exactly the same, except one had the larger arm on one side and one had the larger arm on the other. You know what I mean? And I'm glad they didn't, because unlike most people, I actually really do like the twins. And I really wish they had gotten their chance to redeem themselves in movie 3, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, let's get it over with. Let's just call it an end. The first 3 Cyberverse Legions figures I picked up. Bumblebee here, very nice. Skids and Mudflap, not as nice. Strangely, Mudflap is better than Skids. Transformers fans, go get Bumblebee, he's good. He's a great little pocket transformer. He's great to sit on your desk at work or at home. As for Skids and Mudflap, don't bother with them unless you really like the characters, or like me, you really wanted a desk-sized collection of Autobots. You can see there in the middle where Bumblebee, Skids, and Mudflap go. But if that's not an issue for you, just skip them. They're not worth the time. And that's it. This is Awesome John 22 signing off.